Hello everybody, welcome to my video, welcome to my vinyl tag video, my very first vinyl tag video. Now vinyl tag is basically a conversation piece, a list of 20 questions or 20 categories to generate conversation about your record buying habits and your musical taste. This particular one is the quarantine edition. It was started by Dylan over at Noble Records. So, just a little background here. My name is Galen, and I'm fairly new to vinyl collecting as far as a serious hobby. See, I don't have a wall of vinyl behind me here. It is most of what I have here, plus I have a few down here. But I did have some records when I was a kid, before I graduated onto cassettes and then CDs. My CD collection is back here, so you have an idea how much I have, and some of those are going to find their way on this list. You know, it is what it is. So, anyway, we'll get started. And the first category is a local artist, a band or artist from your home state or city. Now, I live in New Hampshire, which is not a big music scene or doesn't have a big music industries, but we do have a music scene here, some local bands, and my pick for that is Divine Regale. Now I'll try to get this without the glare. This is their release called Ocean Mind, and they are a progressive metal and rock band, sort of somewhere between Dream Theater and Queensryche. This was their only full-length release. They did put out a demo a couple years prior to this, but this came out back around 1997 or so. And I happen to be friends with one of the band members, Gary Layton. They got signed on to Metal Blade Records, and they did some touring with Fates Warning. After that, they kind of split up, went on to some other projects. But they did get back together recently, and played a few shows, and have been working on some new material, some new recordings. So I look forward to hearing some new stuff from them pretty soon. So, Divine Regale. Okay, next one is an album that is highly recommended. Now, that all depends on what you're into, your musical taste, because the music I'm into, heavy metal, is not for everybody. If you're a folk, into folk music or hip hop or classic rock, my pick might not be for you. But Testament, this is their latest release that came out just about a month ago, this past month. And this is called Titans of Creation. Thrash metal, classic thrash metal. They just barely missed out getting onto the Big Four category. But this album came out in several different variations of vinyl, including four that correspond to the four classical elements: fire, air, water, and earth, as well as black vinyl and picture disc. I got the water edition here, but this is a great record. This is one of the best, and so Testament, Titans of Creation. Next is a tip for a beginner. Now, maybe you might think I'm a beginner as well too. I've just gotten back into serious vinyl collecting fairly recently, just in the last year or so. But my tip would probably be that there's a lot of there's a lot of videos out there about people giving their advice You know, especially with like essential albums you got to have to be a real collector. Take those with a grain of salt. Just get what you really are into. Get what you're passionate about. And as far as like your record player, get what works for you. Even if it's one of these. So, you know, don't let the experts, you know, kind of pressure you into buying or investing one way or another. You know, just get what works for you. Okay. Next, an album that got you into deeper music. Now, that is kind of vague. I'm not sure what that means. Dylan at NOLA Records talked about discovering early Fleetwood Mac. I already knew about early Fleetwood Mac, but I'm gonna go and talk about. You know, look, you know, we took music classes in school. You know, I took, you know, it was, you know, along with art classes, you had music classes. So I knew about, you know, some of the early jazz, you know, like Miles Davis, John Coltrane, all that. Plus, you know, my parents had a lot of classical music and gospel music. So it's I can't say that in any one particular album got me into deeper music, but I will show this. This is Django Reinhardt. Most of you know who he is or who he was. He was a gypsy jazz guitar player back in the 40s and 50s. And the interesting thing about him is his hand was severely burned in a fire. And so he had to learn how to play his guitar on 2 fingers. So I just picked this one up just to kind of get a listen to you know, what he was doing back in then, and you know, what he could do on 2 fingers. So Django Reinhardt. Okay, an obscure album that people might not know about. Okay, so for that, my pick is going to be, this is the Exploding Eyes Orchestra. This was a side project from this other group called Jess and the Ancient Ones, and this is like stoner rock, something similar to what you might have heard back in the early 70s. And while Jess and the Ancient Ones was kind of hung up on some legal and management entanglements that kept them out of the studio for some time, they decided to, you know, start a side project. And they only released 2 albums here. This is number 1 and number 2. And they're based out of Finland. And so this is the Exploding Eyes Orchestra. Okay. Next. A group or band that you collect all their albums from. Now, I could make a list of, you know, bands that I collect most of their albums or all of them. But, you know, for something on strictly vinyl, besides Exploding Eyes Orchestra, of course, I'm going to pick Demons and Wizards. This is their self-titled first album. This is Touched by the Crimson King. And this is their latest 3. And Demons and Wizards is another side project. It's a collaboration between Heinze Kirsch, the singer from Blind Guardian, and John Schaefer, the guitarist of Iced Earth. This one came out back in around 2000 or so. This is around 2005. And this just came out this year, and I saw them live in concert just this past year. These two are recent re-releases. So, this is Demons and Wizards. Sorry, these things get heavy after a while. I need to find some better storage, you know. Next one is an artist whose second album is better than the first. And again, I could, you know, list off a whole bunch of bands that would make that I could. Instead, I'm going to go with Rainbow Rising, and this is a fantastic, classic album. The first album, Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow, had The King of Silver Mountain, and it was a good album. It was definitely good. It had Ronnie James Dio on there. This one just topped that. The song Stargazer is an epic. I mean, I just you know, get engrossed in that song to this day. So, Rainbow Rising. Let's see, do a whack-a-mole. Now that is where you kind of do a blind random pick. So I'm going to try to do this without looking. And hopefully I'm going to find something that I'm not planning to talk about in the future. Black Sabbath Volume 4. There's a gatefold. This is one of the recent, you know, releases or recent reissues. So, Black Sabbath Volume 4. Okay. Do the album that you listen to the most. Now, I don't keep track of how many times I listen to any particular album. But for today, I'm just going to pick, I'd say this one here. This is my favorite band in the world, Dream Theater. And this is a special collector's edition box set of Black Clouds and Silver Linings. And this is actually the first modern vinyl record that I got, because it has, now I listen to it most on CD, because it has the CD down here, but it also has vinyl records here. But this is the first modern vinyl records that I got, you know, before all this. So, Dream Theater, Black Clouds and Silver Linings. Okay. Next, do an album with a crazy story. Okay, so this is, now like I said earlier, I had some records when I was a kid. Most of them got lost. But a couple of years ago, my brother and sister were digging through my parents' basement, and they found got it. They found these. These are my old ABBA records. Now, I was an ABBA fan. They were my first favorite group. And I had a crush on Agnetha here. She was one of my first celebrity crushes. So, we have Greatest Hits Volume 2 and The Visitors. But, now, many of you guys are going to cringe at this. We have The Visitors. We have Greatest Hits Volume 1, and we have Super Trooper. See, I had lost the outer sleeves for these other two here. So I did what I had to do. Stuffed them all back in here together. And they're still playable. Hard to believe, but they're still playable. They got a lot of surface noise, a couple skips here and there, but when I put them back on, it just brought me back to my childhood. It was great. I mean, yeah. So there's my kind of a funny story, crazy story. Your pet peeve for buying vinyl buying. I don't have too many pet peeves as far as record buying, but something that does kind of bother me a little bit is all of the YouTubers, all the online experts that pressure people into buying certain things or not buying certain things, such as one of these. Now, I have a small apartment. I live in an apartment. I don't have the space for a fancy hi-fi, record setup. My stereo system here is hooked up to my TV. This is what I listen to it through. So this works for me. This works for me. I'm not an audiophile. I'm not, I just like to listen to it as it is. Now if you don't like Crosley, if you think it's a bad idea, that's fine. But if you're going to get on camera and talk about that, if you're going to get on camera and tell people that you shouldn't buy one, at least prove it. Do a test. Do an audio test. Put your money where your mouth is. Don't just say something that may have come out of thin air. Okay? But that's my pet peeve. Okay, so anyway, next. A genre that people might be surprised that you like. Now, my genre for that is Russian music, like Russian pop music. Now, I've been doing a lot of traveling to Ukraine over the past number of years, and I've been studying some of the language as well too, off and on, some Russian language. And so I've been listening to Russian music as a way to kind of study the language, get used to hearing it. And I've really gotten to like it a lot. And I have a couple of CDs here. This is Annie Lorak, and this is Gregory Leps. And these are some greatest hits collections that they have. And I got these through Amazon. But also, one time when I was in Kiev, Ukraine, I found a record store and I wanted to find some Russian music that I can't get here in America. They had a lot of Western music. They had Korn, and they had Limp Bizkit, all the American music. And so I asked the people there if they had anything in Russian, and they showed me this, and this is Jamala, and the album name is Podich. I'm not sure what that means. Pod means underneath, so it could have something to do with that. Could be a variation of that, but this is a kind of a soul album. She's a very soulful singer, very sultry. It's good for just chilling out with your significant other, your girlfriend, your wife, your husband, maybe. But yeah, this is Russian music. So next one. Oh, pick an album from the year you were born. And I have I have this. I was born in '68. Now, I've never been a huge Beatles fan, but one time when I was down at Newbury Comics, my local Newbury Comics, about a year ago, I was looking for some new metal releases, new stuff for heavy metal. Wasn't finding much of anything this particular day, so I just kind of went to the Beatles section, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get a Beatles record. So, yeah. So anyway, next one, do a 10-inch record. Now, I don't have any 10-inch records, and I'm just kind of meh about them. From what I've seen, they are kind of like the old 45 singles, that have songs that you can get on a 12-inch on an LP. So, I don't feel the need to buy one. But if something comes out that is exclusive to a 10-inch, something I really like and really want, then maybe I'll go for it. But yeah, I'm just kind of, whatever. It's just something for, some people are into that. Yeah, I haven't really felt the urge to get one. An interesting fact. Okay, so a record with some interesting facts. Now, let's see. Here's this. This is The Trees of Eternity, The Hour of the Nightingale. Now, this was another side project. This was a project between Alea Standridge and Juha Raivio. Now the two of them, or actually more specifically Juha, is the guitarist for this other band called Swallow the Sun. They're a doom metal band. They're kind of death doom metal, somewhere in there. And Alea Standridge did some background vocals on some of their records. And the two of them came into a relationship, and they wanted to start a new band called Trees of Eternity. The sad thing is that Alea passed away while this album was still in post-production. So she never was able to see the release of her record. And she's a fantastic singer. This is, gatefold. But it's got some melancholy to it, and it's kind of a ghosty, almost atmospheric record. This one I got came out in this blue vinyl. It's available through Smart Records. Now this blue vinyl is sold out, but they are releasing another batch in gold vinyl. So, but this is a great record, and it's bittersweet that it came out. It's essentially a posthumous record, but I mean this is another one of my highly recommended records. So, Trees of Eternity. Okay, next. Okay, a record with an animal on the cover. And we've already seen Exploding Knives Orchestra with the bull. Trees of Eternity had the two horses. So I'm going to pick one more here. Okay. This is Nightwish. This is their latest live record, Decades. And you got the owl on the cover. So, Nightwish. Let's see. Oh, an album with crazy artwork. Now, Let me see, I got someone back here. I don't know if this you would call crazy, but here you go. Scorpions, Love Drive. Let's see. A great album that you can get for cheap. Now, I got one back here. This one I bought for about $6, maybe $5. Zebra. No Telling Lies. They are a rock group from, this came out in the early 80s, probably 82 or 83 or so. But they're kind of like a little bit like Rush, maybe. If you're into Rush, then you might be into this. But yeah, this is pretty good. I like it. Okay, sorry about that. I had my camera just kind of blinked out for a second there. I'm gonna have to edit this. But okay, so a album that has an acquired taste, and my pick is going to be Blind Guardian. Now this is for me personally. This is a acquired taste for me personally because they're a power metal band, and I love power metal, but it can be kind of silly and cliched with all the fantasy tropes. And Blind Guardian is like everything they do is fantasy albums, fantasy stories. And I picked up one of their CDs there a few years ago, just a handful of years ago, just trying to see if I can get into them. And I kind of broke out laughing just for the silliness of their fantasy stories. So I was just kind of like, oh, yeah, Blind Guardian. I mean, yeah, they have their fan base, they have their dedicated fan base, but it just didn't seem to be for me. But then when I saw Demons and Wizards in concert, I was just telling myself, came away telling myself, I need to get into some more Blind Guardian. So so I bought this one. This is Blind Guardian's Twilight Orchestra, Legacy of the Dark Lands. And this is some orchestral style music. Not too much heavy metal, but more orchestral style. Hansi Kirsch, the singer, doing some orchestral style singing. I'm still working on it. I'm still working on kind of getting into this type of music. So this is my pick for an acquired taste. And last one is your most recent buy, your most recent acquisition. And my most recent acquisition is Metal Church from the Vault. And this is a collection of extras, a few new songs, a few leftover tracks from their last album recording process, some covers, and some live material. But yeah, Metal Church from the Vault. Okay, so that is my vinyl tag, my first vinyl tag. Sorry if this seemed a little awkward. I actually had to do a few different takes of trying to get myself into the flow of recording this. But hopefully, if you found this interesting, I have some more records that are on pre-order. So, maybe in the next video, I'll have some more stuff to talk about. If you have any ideas of what I should talk about, you can go ahead and leave a comment, and we'll see what I can do. But for now, peace out, and have a nice day. Bye.